Hello FPO managers, yes, we are back again with another video for the Fantasy Premier League 2021-22 season. You see the title, you see the thumbnail. Yes, it's the final draft for game week 1. We dropped our draft a couple of weeks ago, and a lot has happened between then and now, so we've had to leave our final draft to at least as close as possible to when the season begins, and the season begins in a little over 24 hours, so I don't expect much to change between now and then. So here's going to be our final draft for the Fantasy Premier League 2021-22 season. If you're new to the channel, we drop FPL content once every week, and we continue to do that until the season ends. So subscribe, like the video, stick around. Let's get straight into business. So our last updated draft looked something like this. These are some of the principles I usually follow when I build my game week 1 draft every season. I try not to bring in too many newly promoted players. I try not to bring in newly transferred in players, even though they're players who are already accustomed to the league. As long as they're moving to a new club, I try to avoid them as much as possible. Okay, I try to have at least 5 set piece takers in my squad, and I try to have at least 14 guaranteed starters in my squad. Okay, and I also try to decide the first wildcard strategy of the season. For this season, we're planning to have our first wildcard as close to game week 10 as possible. At least from game week 8, we should try to avoid our first wildcard until then. So that's how we're gonna go about it this season. The team looked like this. Sanchez and Bachmann in goal, Duffy, Lamptey, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold and Cresswell in defense. In midfield we had Brownhill, Madsen, Salah, Fernandez and Romeu, and in attack we had Watkins, Tony and Calvert-Lewin. So not much has changed with our backline. Sanchez remains our starting goalkeeper, although I've had to squeeze out 0.5 million from our backup goalie because I needed a lot of funds higher up the pitch, but you guys are gonna see where all those funds went. Same thing has happened in defense. It has changed from what we had before to target Duffy, Alexander-Arnold, Shaw and Tsimikas. With Robertson's injury, we've had to kind of change tact as well. With Tsimikas, he could probably start game week 1, but I'm not entirely sure that he's guaranteed of a start. Milner could just as easily replace Robertson, so I think I'm going to keep Tsimikas on the bench for now. There's a chance that he could start, so it gives us leverage just in case any of our starting 11 doesn't get to feature, then he can just easily slide in. Target Alexander-Arnold and Shaw will be our starting defenders most likely, and I suspect that Duffy is going to be a starting defender for Brighton as well, so he's going to stay on our bench also. In midfield we have Trossard, we have Barnes, we have Salah, we have Mahrez and Fernandez. Trossard is one player I don't see a lot of FPL managers going for. A lot of people talk about how good Brighton's fixtures are from a defensive standpoint, but not a lot of people are talking about the attacking players from Brighton. So I've gone for Trossard because he's got Burnley and Watford to face in game week 1 and 2, and I think there might be a chance to capitalize on that and get some very good points from Brighton's attack, and that's why I've gone for him. Also, Barnes is another player who I don't see a lot of players, FPL managers, talking about. He's got Wolves in game week 1, West Ham in game week 2, and then he has Norwich, which is the main reason I have him in the team in game week 3. The strategy this season, at least early on, is to try and target these newly promoted teams. So Barnes is one of those players who's going to be facing a newly promoted team early on in the season. In game week 3, he's facing Norwich. Trossard is another player who's going to be facing a newly promoted team in Watford in game week 2. So I've kind of set up the team to target these early fixtures and try and maximize our chances of getting points from these games. Okay, so in game week 2 we have Trossard facing Watford. In game week 3 we have Barnes facing Norwich. In game week 1 we have Salah facing Norwich. And part of our transfer plans in game week is to kind of save our 2 transfers for game week 3 and then bring in players who are also going to be facing these newly promoted teams in game week 3. And I'll talk more about that when I talk about our transfers. Well, this is how our midfield is going to be looking for the new season, and then our strike force is going to consist of Ivan Toney, Antonio, and then Obafemi as a kind of like a placeholder. He's 4.5 million. Toney faces Arsenal in his first game, so I don't expect much from him in that game, even though I intend to play him. But from game week 2, his fixtures are a lot more encouraging. As for Antonio, he faces a good set of fixtures early on in the season. He faces Newcastle and then Leicester in game week 2. He faces Crystal Palace in game week 3 and then Southampton in game week 4. So these teams are teams that you would expect Antonio to at least get a couple of goals in. So that's why he's still in the team. Previously we had Watkins lining up as well as Buendia, but with the news of them not being 100% fit, having injuries and not being able to feature for the most recent preseason games, I'm trying to avoid taking too much risks with my first 11. If I want to gamble, I'll gamble with my bench, but definitely not the first 11. With any players who have question marks, who might be injured, who may not be 100% fit for game week 1, I just try to save myself the headache and just go for a different asset entirely. Okay, so like I said earlier, our transfer plan is to roll the transfer after game week 1 and try and use both transfers that are saved for game week 3. So the plan is to take out Mahrez and then bring in a Son for game week 3. Son faces Watford in game week 3, and then I'm gonna need the funds from somewhere, because Mahrez is 9 million and Son is 10 million, so I need 1 million coming out from somewhere, and it could be Alexander-Arnold going out for probably a 5.5 million defender. He faces Chelsea in game week 3, so I could easily just take out Alexander-Arnold and bring him back probably in game week 5 when he's at home to Crystal Palace. And probably it could also be Trossard. I could downgrade Trossard to probably a 5.5 million midfielder, maybe a Smith Rowe, but Smith Rowe faces Manchester City in game week 3, so I really wouldn't want that. So I'll probably sort that out when we get to that bridge in game week 3. But most definitely I'm bringing in Son and taking out Mahrez. Mahrez faces Norwich in game week 2, so he's going to be useful in game week 2, but in game week 3 he faces Arsenal, so he goes out, comes in for Son, who faces Watford, and probably Son is going to be our captain. And talking about captains, in game week 1, I think I should just go with the popular choice. Everyone seems to be going for Salah. At least most of FPL managers are going for Salah, who's facing Norwich in game week 1. So there's no need to be too smart about it. Just go for Salah in game week 1. And then in game week 2, we can decide to probably switch between either Salah or Mahrez I'm leaning towards Mahrez because he's also facing Norwich in game week 2. I could also still stick with Salah, who's I think is facing Burnley in game week 2. So that there's a decision to be made there. But for now, I'm leaning towards Mahrez as a captain choice for game week 2. And then in game week 3, we're taking out Mahrez and bringing in Son for that Watford fixture, and Son will probably be our captain for game week 3. Okay, another choice could be Barnes, who's facing Norwich in game week 3, but I think Son is probably going to be a better choice for captaincy for that week. As for our prediction league picks, I'm going to leave a link in the description below for those who don't understand what this is. It's just a watch list of players who we think are going to score points every game week, and then we tally the points that we do get and see how well we do as the season goes on. We've picked Fernandes as our premium attacking pick, Trent as our premium defensive pick, Havertz as our mid-range attacking pick, and Kufal as our mid-range defensive pick. We expect that these 4 players are gonna score points in game week 1, and most definitely we're going to come back to this after the game week is done to see how well we did. Okay, don't forget to check the link in the description below for clarification of how this is going to go. So that's the video, that's our team, that's our final draft with Sanchez in goal, Trent Alexander-Arnold target, Shaw in defense, Fernandes, Mahrez, Salah, Trossard, Barnes in midfield, and Antonio and Tony as our strike force. So that's it. I think we touched on everything important from transfer plans to captaincy pick, all up until game week 3 just before the international break. So all I have to do now is wish you guys good luck, and we'll talk after the game week is done, and have fun. Catch you on the next one.